Shalom. I'd like to begin first and foremost by saying Barakatah, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwath to push this truth in all due diligence and sincerity. Again, Barakatah, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kadash, Yahweh being the true name of the Heavenly Father who the world ignorantly refers to as God. Yahweh Shai being the true name of his only begotten Son. As you can see in the background, this is the .gov, the UK website, basically the official website of the UK government. Recently, in June, earlier this month, we had an annual tech festival known as London Tech Week. It's basically London's biggest technology festival that typically takes place in the Olympia, a venue in Hammersmith, West London. Keir Starmer attended. A number of other prominent politicians were also in attendance. Always the case that the Prime Minister or a very senior technology minister attends. And he gave a speech basically around the hyper acceleration of technology in today's world. You see here on the .gov, the UK website, this website reads, new plans to stop children take sharing or viewing nude images. Now, basically, this comes as part of the social media crackdown on young people in the UK, where basically the UK government has said that they're banning social media, including everything from Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube for under 16-year-olds, because ultimately, I think it might. Excuse me, my memory fails me exactly. It may be up to 18. I need to check that, but just to block notifications, I've got my flight mode on. But regardless, they blocked teens from accessing social media, and the whole guise of it is to protect them from harmful online content. Like inclusive of pornography. Now, you might have it in your mind as a simple thing and think, yeah, great idea, fantastic. Make sure that if they're under a certain age, they can't access social media, they can't access potential adult content that's blacklisted. They can't just go on a Google and type in particular types of things also and access, according to this article, nude images. Yeah, so they've restricted rated sites, let's call it that for the sake of the algorithm, with age verification also. But you know what that does for adults? Now, let's say you go to Apple or Samsung and you buy a new iPhone or a Samsung product or whatever your favorite phone is. What's stopping them from saying, well, to prove that you're over the age of X, we now need you to upload facial scans or your passport or driver license? Because if anyone could turn around and say they were born in 1993 or in January or whatever to try and bypass the system. So what now? What if they say you need authentic government ID? What if they say you need literal government issued ID in order to access anything, in order to be able to use your new phone to access online services? Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Understand the nature of this devil, man. They will spin you a narrative to make you believe that they've got a particular agenda that's for your betterment, when in actuality it's a back door into another ulterior motive, man. You see, right here, this article reads, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, when it comes to the safety of our children, standing by is not an option. Now that sounds hella noble. He wants to protect the kids. Yeah, the kids. Stop them from viewing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, from viewing nasty images online. The kids, standing by is not an option. Nobody gets a free pass. That is why I'm making sure Britain is the first country in the world to make it impossible for children to take, share, or view nude images. And to do this, one of his ideas is he wants to get major tech companies, your Samsungs, your Apples, to install software on their operating system. So this isn't like social media companies that have apps on the phone. This is the actual software company, the actual phone companies themselves, yeah, to alter their software on their operating systems. You know, like maybe you have an iPhone and you get the iOS update um, come through. Yeah, they want to basically get the technology companies, the major ones, to alter their operating software to make it to where, in order for your phone to work, software will be installed in your phone to essentially analyze any picture you're taking. So if it notices, like, you're taking anything that's to do with private parts or sexual content, or maybe even whether that's, like, I don't know, taking a picture, receiving a picture from a woman, or taking a picture of a woman of a particular sexualized nature, the phone itself will have built-in restrictions or built-in bars to query you, or to get you to verify your ID and who you are by that nature as well, which is nothing much more than the Big Brother state, man. They're trying to build software upgrades so that the phones literally, man, are able to track who you are and what you're viewing. As soon as you open your camera, before you even decide to take a picture and add it to your gallery, the phone will have software in it to recognize any potential nudity. Imagine that. That's what they're working towards. And you can look this up online. Literally, I am operating software updates UK. Google that and it will give you all of the updates. That is why I'm making sure, this is back in the article. This is why I'm making sure Britain is the first country in the world to make it impossible for children to take, share, or view nude images. And I expect tech firms to make that happen. This is not an impossible challenge. These are some of the most innovative companies in the world. But if they choose not to, then we will act and change the law. So if they don't comply, we're going to change the law to screw them. The changes will apply to UK devices, including both existing and newly sold smartphones and tablets. So even if you got a phone that came out before all of these changes, yeah, and this is going to happen in 3 months, they're going to implement technology whereby in 3 months' time, your software update, if the tech companies don't push back against it successfully, the software updates are going to include software updates. So the software updates are going to basically include upgrades where there's going to be built-in technology to track exactly what you're taking pictures of. The changes will apply to UK devices, including both existing and newly sold smartphones and tablets. Legislation could cover operating system providers and others in supply chains, such as retailers, and will not affect the use, or allegedly, and will not affect the use of devices owned and used by adults who verify their age. So you're going to have to verify your age. Yeah. Now look at what he said here. Under the new plans, big tech companies, Apple and Google, must activate built-in features or implement technical solutions on smartphones and tablets to detect and block nude images for children. So they're going to have to add built-in features or implement tech solutions that somehow, identify and block nude images for children. So if somebody sends a nude picture to a child's phone who's verified their age as being under a particular age, and I believe that's probably 18. But again, at that particular point, you have to Google. The Prime Minister announced, if somebody sends a nude image to a child, the software in the phone will be able to detect it and potentially block it, man. It says implement technical solutions on smartphones and tablets to detect and block nude images for children. The Prime Minister announced in a speech at London Tech Week, Monday, 8th of June. This will prevent predators from being able to exploit and abuse victims through their devices, as well as stopping children from being able to access pornography. Adults will still be able to take, share, or view new content through an age verification process. And that might be in the form of uploading your passport details onto a database. That might be facial recognition. Ultimately, man, that's your data being shared, man, with private companies, with private interests. And they will tell you one thing now. Well, ultimately, man, when the time comes for the agenda to shift, these same politicians, or even the ones that come in to replace them, will be quick to sell your details on, man, to share your data, because they don't give a fuck about you people, man. Now is the time for tech companies to step up and work with government to solve this horrific issue. If companies do not act within 3 months, the government will bring forward legislation to force them to activate the technology. This will include fines for companies. Nothing is off the table. And as a last resort, we are exploring criminal liability for tech bosses who fail to comply. Yo, yo, yo. Listen, let me bring the scripture out right here, man. Revelations, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse, to the point. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe, meaning destruction to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because you know that you have but a short time. You see, they tried to push digital ID on the people up front. They basically said you're going to need digital ID in order for national security, to surf the internet, to explore websites in general, and people came against it hard. The people just basically said, fuck it, we're gonna, the dormant British people finally said, yo, if you try to implement this, we're going to rebel. People wrote and signed petitions, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, in a couple of hours. And so Keir Starmer had to, retract that. And now they're coming through a different guise. They're coming through the guise of, okay, well, we're trying to stop the children from accessing pornography. So we got to basically make sure if they're under 18 that they can't get on the internet to view it. And everyone's simple enough to go along with it. I even got particular people I work with, women especially. Like, yeah, that's right, Keir Starmer. Yeah, finally you're doing something right. But then the backdoor agenda is ultimately to use that as a ruse to then bring in digital ID for everyone. Because how do you prove someone's a child? How do you prove that somebody's an adult? We need government-backed ID. What does that turn into? A digital ID. What's the end goal ultimately of all of this? To set the framework for this. Revelations 13 and 16. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666, the beast mark system. Basically, pretty much, you're not going to be able to transact in the not too distant future unless you've literally got the MOTB integrated into your biometrics, man. And hey, we'll see how things go. Lord willing, and at the end of the day, Lord willing, brothers will manage logistically. But soon enough, you're not going to be able to really function via social platforms unless you conform